Hey everyone, it's Mike Andes. If you don't know who I am, I'm the founder of Augusta Lawn Care. We have 200 locations around the world. I'm also the founder of Homeworks. We process over $1 million in daily payments for home service businesses. And today is actually, it's like a little before 4 a.m. And I came into the office a little early and I just wanted to share some thoughts that I've been having. And I think the objective and really who I am really always trying to help is the 18-year-old version of myself. And when I was 18 years old, I had started Augusta Lawn Care, but I had dropped out of what everyone thought was going to become a medical career. And I had started college when I was 13 years old. And so dropping out at 18, I had already got my bachelor's degree. I was on my way to get my MD. Dropping out and starting Augusta Lawn Care was not necessarily in the cards. Now, I had mowed grass since I was 11 years old to pay my way through college. But to say that I was going to drop out of medical school and do this the rest of my career, mow grass, certainly let down a lot of peers, a lot of professors, and they let me know about it. My family, fortunately, and my parents, they supported me. But during those moments, the uncertainty that I had and questioning yourself as to whether or not you're doing the right thing, that is the individual that I make my videos for. And more importantly, the person that I really speak to is the person I was 21, 22 years old and really didn't have a great business. We were doing somewhere between almost $1 million in revenue. But that's when I got in the accident, caught underneath a dump truck, almost died because I didn't have systems in the business. I didn't have procedures, and my hoodie got caught in the PTO underneath a dump truck. And for a couple of weeks, I was on the mend, but it really revealed to me that my business was not built on systems. It was just built on me working 80, 90 hours a week. And so that is the version of me that I make all my videos for. So when I look at this camera, I am looking at that person, the person that just dropped out of medical school, the 18-year-old version of me that had a lot of questions and didn't have a lot of answers. And I try to speak to that person because I still remember going up into my bedroom at the time and searching on Google and putting in landscape business course, and nothing was there. And back then, this is 2016, there wasn't a lot of online courses or education for, very specific to lawn care and landscaping. There was a lot of stuff around like how to do lawns or make grass short, what kind of mowers to buy, but there wasn't a lot of business advice and advertising and what systems to use and how to pay people. And that's what I created, landscapebusinesscourse.com. It's free for everybody. And that's the version of me I make this video for and all my videos. So whenever, it's always, if you've never made videos before, looking at camera is a little strange. But behind that camera, I have to picture who am I talking to. And it's actually that person every time I look at a camera. Sometimes when I do live streams, I think more of an audience. But most of my videos are just made for the 18-year-old version of myself. And you're like, well, I'm not 18, but you might be also at crossroads, struggling with a business that's not growing. Maybe you're more like the 21, 22-year-old version of myself that you've built a business and it doesn't have any systems. You're working crazy amounts of hours and it's not profitable. And so that's the versions of me that I think about when I make these videos. And so I've been thinking, like, what are the common traits of people that are successful in home services and businesses in general? And I try to break it up because I truly believe that what's required to get started is not what's required to build a $3 million+ business. And I mostly talk about building a $3 million business because once you build a $4 or $5 million business, you know what you're doing. You can't build to that size unless you absolutely were given so much latitude in terms of financially that you have figured something out if you've grown past $3 million. And so most of my time and energy is spent on getting people from 100,000 to 10,000 to $1 million, from $1 million to $3 million. I'm trying to think of that person that I was, because once I hit 3 million, there was things I started to realize there were commonalities, and I had done it long enough to where I started to be able to figure things out. And also the person that has a $5-10 million business has the resources many times to go find out and seek the advice required to get to the next level. And that's about when I started figuring out, okay, I need to pay to be in rooms and groups and masterminds, et cetera. But I didn't have that money when I was doing $200,000 in annual revenue and renting a space out for $200 to park my trailer in my truck. And so that's really why I make these videos. And so there's 5 different sort of traits, common traits that I see business owners falling into, and what's required to grow at each size of business. So to get started, in my opinion, you start with inspiration. Because that's all you got. You got inspired, you quit your 9-to-5, you started this business thing, you became an entrepreneur. And inspiration is required because, like, when I think of inspiration, I actually think about when God created the earth and he was inspired and he actually like breathed, and the creator actually making something from nothing. And that's what I think of an entrepreneur. Someone who gets started, you need inspiration. You need to be able to take nothing and make something of it, and start an LLC, start a business, start a website, start getting customers, start generating revenue. And that is like a very interesting thing. And I think I've never had kids, but I would assume it's something like that. And it's like you step back and like, man, we created this, and without us, this would not be possible. And I think it's a smaller scale, but similar in that is in a business. It's the same way. It's like without the entrepreneur being inspired, the business doesn't exist. The same way that without the creator, the earth does not exist. And so I think to get started, you need inspiration. That is the trait of almost every home service business owner, every entrepreneur that gets started. You need to be inspired. Inspired to get out of a situation you're in, inspired to change the situation and your finances, change a circumstance. Maybe you had a bad job, maybe you had a bad boss, maybe you weren't making enough money, maybe you're struggling paycheck to paycheck. Whatever it is, you are inspired to change. And in order to be able to go from where you're at today to where you want to go, there's a large gap in between. And sometimes it can seem like a chasm you can't cross. And the only reason why you would ever even begin that journey and even think that you would be able to get across that chasm is because you're inspired. And so this is why a lot of times entrepreneurs are inspirational people. And this is also why, because we are inspirational, we many times keep starting new businesses, starting new services, starting new departments, starting new initiatives, and we get inspired very easily. This is also what many gurus or fake gurus prey on, is that entrepreneurial people are usually very inspirational. And so this is why they're able to be sold bill of goods. They're, whether it be the next drop shipping course or day trading or flipping houses, they are usually very inspirational people. And so if they see someone else that is inspirational, they're able to feed off of that energy. And many times this is why an entrepreneur wants to keep starting new things. But inspiration will only get you so far. It'll actually only help you one time when you're starting a business, and that is to get started, to get off of zero, to start the business. But after that, it actually doesn't serve a huge purpose, because I see inspiration as a meaningful ingredient, necessary ingredient to enact change or initiate change. But it doesn't do a whole lot to stay motivated or grow an organization, grow a team, grow a business. What is required many times as you begin to start after zero and after being inspired is motivation. Because now I don't need to just get started. I actually need to apply myself to one thing. And motivation is the part that is required, because now you have to be motivated to wake up early. You have to be motivated to do things you don't want to do. You have to be motivated to be able to sell when you feel like you're not salesy, to learn software when you're not a tech person. These are things that require motivation. And the lack of motivation with inspiration is many times what we all label as a wantrepreneur. Someone gets very much inspired, but fails to have the discipline to stay motivated doing one thing for any given period of time. And so motivation, in my opinion, will get you to around $100,000 in annual revenue. Maybe $200,000 depending on your industry, but $100,000 will get you'll be able to achieve that if you're just motivated. If you just wake up, like right now, it is 4:20. Like, if you can just wake up and do what no one else wants to do, when no one else wants to do it, and keep doing it for a period of time that others are not willing to continue doing it, you will probably get to past $100,000 in annual revenue. So it's like, how do I make 6 figures? It's likely just get past inspiration and be able to stay motivated long enough. This is what pushes people to work the 60, 80 hours per week. This is many times what is required to have a solo operator business, maybe you and a virtual person, depending what industry you're in, maybe a part-time helper, but $200,000 is very possible as long as you stay motivated. Because as soon as an entrepreneur loses motivation, this is when they go back to inspiration. You lose motivation to wake up early, stay applied to your craft, stay inside of your industry, so then you get inspired to go do something else. And so this vicious circle of, I'm inspired, okay, I'm motivated to do this thing, and then you lose motivation, you go right back to inspiration. This is the failure, this is the downfall of most home service business owners, most entrepreneurs in general, and this is why the vast majority of businesses will not last 5 years. And it's simply because we get inspired to get started, we stay motivated for some period of time, but we never get past motivation, and so we never break the sound barrier and start actually hiring employees, building a team, and continue to grow. And in my opinion, the skill that is required, and this is where I find a lot of times you move from more soft skills like inspiration, motivation, to now you need hard skills. To continue growing past this point, 100,000, 200,000, you need more hard skills. And many times the skill that's required to get past $500,000 is just sales. Now, I have seen some people, for example, at Augusta Lawn Care, the owners come for training for a week. I have seen some people within 1 week have enough work for them, 2 or 3 employees, like from zero, start from scratch, have multiple trucks and employees running within a week or 2. They are basically getting $50,000 to $60,000 per month in revenue within a matter of a couple of weeks. And that's not the common. That is simply a person that knows how to sell. The person that can put on their boots and sell, ice to an Eskimo, as they say, but they're willing to knock on doors, they're willing to talk to people in Facebook groups, they're willing to email, text, call people, follow up on estimates, follow up on invoices. This is the person that can sell. And this is many times why someone can very easily build a $500,000 to $1 million business, and then they feel like they hit a wall. A lot of times this person's really good at selling, and there's more skills required to get past $1 million, but that $500,000 to $1 million business owner many times is just so passionate about what they're doing. They're able to sell to every customer. If they talk to customers, they're able to upsell them. If they're able to do the work, everyone is happy. They get a great review. The ability to sell more work is the easiest thing for this person. And again, this is going to take more discipline to get past inspiration, become motivated, and then begin to sell, and then learn this skill, because no one likes to be, quote, salesy, but the person with the most conviction is the one that has the money at the end of the day. And so whether it be the customer or whether it be the salesperson, whoever has the most conviction in, as a customer, needing to think about it, talk to their spouse, delay, etc., versus the salesperson that has the conviction that they are the best product, they are the best service for this customer, and they're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that this person accepts and gets on the schedule. So whoever has the most conviction is going to have the money at the end of the day. This comes down to sales. Now, the thought that as you move through these phases and skills required to continue growing the business, that you can somehow shed the previous skin is illogical. I believe that you need you need inspiration, you need motivation, and you need sales. But once you get sales, the ability to sell, you still need motivation. You still need to be inspired. And the reason is I need motivation is to stay doing the exact same thing without a feedback loop of reward that is very, very short. Because sometimes the feedback loop and the reward cycle is 2, 3, or 4, 5 years long before you actually start to see the results of the skill that you're applying, like sales. Because you might be a really good salesperson, but it still takes 5, 6, 7 years to get to $1 million business. And you'll have to be inspired to learn new skills and then motivated to keep applying those skills. And that might be the skill of sales. That might be the skill of marketing. That might be the skill of ads and hiring as we begin to grow the business. But you still are required to keep inspiration, motivation, and then the ability to sell, even as you continue to grow the business. The best CEOs and founders in even the Fortune 500 and large companies retain the ability to inspire people. They're very motivated. They work very hard. They are able to sell. They can get on stage and sell like crazy. And so the thought that, I no longer need to be motivated and work hard because I'm a good salesperson and I built a bigger business. And so I don't need to be disciplined and show up on time. you cannot shed the skin that made you successful. You will have to grow. You will have to gain more skills. You have to be additive in the skills that you are acquiring, but it does not mean that you can put away the skills that you have had in the past. And so once we have been inspired, we are now motivated, we now gain skills, we've grown past $500,000. The skill that is required to get past $1 million is leadership. The ability to attract great talent, the ability to be able to take other people's skills, other people's talent, other people's labor, and organize it and create systems. And without a lack of systems, there is chaos. And the ability to be able to be a great leader, take 4, 5, 10, 15, 20 employees and put them together and then create hierarchies of mid-level managers and then be able to inspire and motivate your team. Because the fact of the matter is your team out in the field, whether it be technicians or managers, they're probably producing net revenue to the business of $100,000, $200,000. Guess what they need? They need inspiration and they need motivation from you as the leader. And so I see that many times people will be really good salespeople. They'll build past 500,000, 600, 700,000, and they start to stall out around $600,000 or $700,000. And many times this is a function of they do not yet have the skill of leadership. Now, I do not look down on this person. I don't necessarily say that you are somehow less than. This is the hardest skill to acquire because it's something that's not innate in many of us. I have seen many people have the innate ability, the God-given talent, if you were, to be able to be inspired, to get motivated, to be even able to sell. Because, a lot of times because they've seen their family, their parents be able to sell. But leadership is one of those things that everyone has to learn somewhat on their own. And you can see good examples of leadership. But then to be able to actually have the notches on your belt, to be able to have the stories to tell, the ability to be able to have the hires and the fires and the things to look back on and have evidence as to what your decision you're making, whether or not it's correct or not, that is leadership and can take time. And so this is the most humbling thing about entrepreneurship, in my opinion, is that this skill is one of those beasts that keep coming back to bite you every single time you add another layer of management. So if you have 6 or 7 employees, you have to be a great leader. You have to have team meetings. You have to be able to attract talent, train talent, make sure they have high level of efficiency, accuracy, high level of service. Difficult to lead 6 to 8 people. Then it becomes difficult because as you get 10, 12 employees, you need mid-level managers, an operations manager, maybe a sales manager, an admin manager, and for someone in the office, and you start to scale up. Now the skill of leadership morphs because no longer are you doing necessarily I'm hiring my technicians. I'm actually hiring managers that will manage my technicians. I'm hiring people that are going to actually build departments for me. This is now another skill that is required because you are hiring people to do things that you do not know how to do, or hire people to do things that you are not good at. And that is a whole nother level of leadership because I've got to track someone to do something for me that I don't actually know how to do it. Different level of skill. And so this leadership skill is the thing that many times gets someone past $1 million and then gets them to past $3 million or so in revenue. Now, once you pass $3 million in revenue, again, I have to grow more. I have to continue to expand. And this is the evolution, and this is the constant pain that an entrepreneur faces. Because next I have to have systems. And you can have great inspiration, great motivation, great ability to sell, great leadership. But then if you fail to create systems, the people that you begin to lead can actually get disillusioned and frustrated by the fact that you don't have any systems. You're chaotic. You don't have any pattern. You don't have any way of doing things the same way every single time. You don't have any sort of standardization. You don't have any simplification. There's no way of doing things again and again and again in the same fashion. And so they get frustrated because you, again, I include myself in this, have the tendency, even at this stage, being a great leader, we make $1 million, 1.5, maybe even 2 million. You're like, man, what's the meaning of making more money? What's the meaning of being in this business more? I want to go do something else. You spend more time away from the business, and that's fine. But you go back to getting disillusioned with inspiration and motivation and even selling because those things were fun. Those things were exciting. Those are the things that as entrepreneurs, we love the chase. We love the hunt. No one loves building systems. It is not fun. It is not glamorous to be sitting at your keyboard, looking over data, looking over the past 6 or 12 months, testing new things, being able to come back and be like, nope, that didn't work. Okay, let's adjust it slightly. Going back, okay, let's modify this. How to change the numbers over the course of the month. That is not the fun part of business. You didn't get into business. I didn't drop out of medical school to be crunching numbers and looking over spreadsheets all day. And so this is where you start to get disillusioned, and many people will go switch industries at this size of business before getting past 3 million. And so this is why I actually built the copy and paste millionaire method. And that is, let's just take what you're good at, which is getting to 7, 8, 900,000 annual revenue and just copy and paste it. Because it's an easier model for many people than trying to build to a $3, $4, $5 million business and start having 3, 4, 5 different layers of management between technicians and then crew leaders and then having operations managers and then estimators, and all these levels of management can sometimes be more difficult. And a lot of times, because required is a lot of systems work. And if you go to a business that's been around for 20 or 30 years, a lot of times they have a lot more systems, and it's in part because they've just done it longer. And the uncomfortable truth is that many times the systems you want to build simply require more reps, and they require more time to be able to see what works. Because in the industry, like for example, lawn care landscaping, I have one spring rush a year, and I can test a few things. For example, door hangers. We started doing door hangers 5 or 6 years ago. The first door hanger that we ever produced, now I look at it and I think it's slop. And the reason for that is because over the past 5 or 6 years, we made a bunch of iterations. The challenging part is because of seasonality, I really only have 5 spring rushes to work on and compare to data. And so as much as I want to be like, okay, for the next month or two, I'll be doing door hangers and I make adjustments and I'll adjust the system. As much as I want to do that, I can't really compare these, March and April to May and June because very different demand curves. And so to think that I'm going to be able to compare the data and be able to adjust the system based upon a variable, for example, if I show the price or not, if I show 1 or 2 services, if I have a QR code versus them writing on there, like these are all the little variables, but it's hard to compare because I have a seasonal business. And so many times the advantage that the biggest businesses have in home services that are seasonal is they simply have so many more years of repetition and for data to be able to compare to create and refine the system. And so for the person that's just getting started, they got inspired, they'd look at my door hanger and be like, it's not converting. The person that got motivated, they would be able to put out thousands of them and say, I actually put out 5 or 10,000. It still didn't work great. The salesperson would be able to take the exact same door hanger and they would be able to sell and upsell existing customers, even though the conversion isn't great. They'd be able to sell them other services, upsell them other more high profit margin products. They'd be able to make it work. The person that's a leader, they would be able to gets that skill of leadership and continues to grow the business. They would be able to create door hanger crews. Like they'd hire people to just do door hangers and they'd track them and make sure they're super efficient. Like the door hanger crew strategy, they would refine because they're a great leader and they'd create incentive plans and they'd motivate their team to be able to go out and put door hangers out. The next layer, the person that gets past 3 million is many times the person that systematizes it year after 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 year when everyone else stopped at just sales. They stopped at just being inspired or motivated or even creating a team. But the person that constantly year after year just looks at the things that worked and the things that didn't work and then makes a system for making a repeatable process that consistently has the outcome of success, that person wins. And so those are the 5 different phases that I see someone moving through: being inspired, being motivated, having the ability to sell, having the ability and the skill of leadership, and then eventually moving into more systems and processes. And getting those out of order can many times stall the business. And so someone that is just getting started, they need to just stay motivated and keep doing the work and staying in the field and getting more hours in and being more efficient and refining their sleep schedule and their service area to get more jobs done and just stay motivated for the extended period of time that most people in which they give up. They should not be thinking about these intricate systems and all the A/B split testing and my reports and how I'm going to do this automation, I'm going to pull this. All of a sudden you start spending 20, 30 hours of your week doing systems thinking when you should just be staying motivated to keep doing the work that's in front of you. And many times that is the actual doing of the work, labor hours, revenue out in the field as a technician. And so getting these things crossed up, I have seen many people fail because of it. And not fail in the regard of being a failure, but they quit. And that's the ultimate and only way to fail in business. And I have seen the people that apply these in sequence and be able to then not only change their skin or change the skill that is required, but build on top of the skills they have in the past. Those are the most successful entrepreneurs. Those are the ones that build great businesses. So as we head into 2026, this new year that is ahead, these are some of the things I've been thinking about. And I wanted to start off the new year, 2026, with a word of prayer. And I've done this pretty much every year of making content to what I can remember. And if you're not religious, you can close out here. That's fine. But I wanted to say a word of prayer for my audience, for the people that I am in charge of and I am trying to lead and doing the best that I can, that this coming year would be, regardless of whether you are just getting started and you're just inspired and you watch this video like, I'm gearing up for 2020, I'm just getting started. Whether you just have to stay more motivated because last year was tough and the economy was a little softer and it was harder to get customers and you hit a roadblock and you kind of feel stalled out at $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. Like, that's whether you're there, whether you're trying to sell and continue to grow the business, whether you are trying to find employees and attract a good team, these are all skills. Whether you're trying to figure out systems and you're starting to hit a roadblock, I think we all need wisdom. And if the wisest man in the world, Solomon in the Bible, was able to humble himself and say that he needed wisdom and he needed understanding, I think that we all as mere mortals that do not have the level of wisdom that he has can also ask for the same thing. So if you don't mind. Heavenly Father, we are so thankful to be able to be together virtually and in this community of other like-minded small business owners that are struggling. We are always trying to move forward, and regardless of whether or not we are profitable or quote-unquote successful, if we are trying to grow, there's always some level of pain and discomfort. There's a level of push and motivation that is required to continue doing what we do every day. And I'm so grateful for this community and all that they have given me and my family and the ability to be able to grow Augusta Lawn Care and Homeworks and Home Service Web Design and all the different businesses and little products that we try to build to help other entrepreneurs. I'm so grateful for this community. And I pray that in 2026 as we move forward, that regardless of whether or not someone's just getting started and they lack the motivation to stay applied to what they're doing, or they lack the skill of sales or leadership, or they're trying to build a big business and they need systems and the ability to be able to look through data and attract great talent. Regardless of the skill that we are deficient in, I pray that you would give us wisdom and you would give us understanding. And you would be the counselor and the Prince of Peace. In times when we have questions and we don't know the answer, that you would step in and give us leadership. And although here on this earth, we as mere mortals try to be good leaders and lead, we pray that you would be our leader. And to every person on this earth, they are also looking for leadership. And so as much as many of us have to lead, make decisions, command and control, delegate throughout our day, we pray that we would remain humble enough to realize that you are our leader and that we rely on you as our guide to be able to get through this life and to grow our business and to grow teams and give back to our communities and our families and build up in a way that we can do what little we can here on this earth. So I pray for wisdom as we go into 2026, we begin to grow our businesses, we get those that might feel like they've been on a treadmill of growth, they've been on a treadmill that is exhausting them and their family and their relationships and their body. I pray you just give them strength and wisdom to be able to know when to raise prices, what employees to hire. And we come to you humbly knowing that we don't know everything. And we pray that you would give us the answers. We ask all these things in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.